All right, this is going to be part 5 of my X-Men Apocalypse spoiler review. I'm going to discuss Jubilee, Jean Grey, and then Wolverine / Stryker / the Weapon X facility, that whole sequence. So I wanted to start with Jubilee because I like to get the things that I didn't like more out of the way first. I've always been the type of person who, I like to save the best for last, or I like to save, or like for example, if I have like a cookie, and like the middle is usually softer if it's like fresh baked or something, I like to eat around it, I'll do whatever, and then I'll like save the middle. Or like a cinnamon roll where like you get to the middle and it's like soft and warm and gooey. Except in this case, Jean would have went after the Weapon X facility, but I felt like she needed to go before just to explain things. But anyway, Jubilee. She had the potential to be a breakout star. She had the potential to be an amazing, beloved Asian superhero character in one of these movies. Because I feel like we haven't really had one yet. Not really. I mean, I know Melinda May on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., with Marvel, is beloved and everything like that. But, this is an actual superhero with actual powers. It would have been so nice to see her done right. And I felt like, her look was straight out of the comics. That actress was so pretty, so adorable. I was so here for it. And I loved her hair. I loved that she had like the long hair with the ponytail like going on. I'm like, yes, her hair never looked so good. Usually she had like a shorter bob. But like, I loved her hair. I loved her look. She looked amazing. I still have the picture of the still with Sophie Turner as Jean, and then that actress as Jubilee side by side. I was so excited. I was so juiced. And I know, Jubilee was in the original trilogy. She had a cameo in like all of the movies. But back then, the technology, the special effects wouldn't have been good enough to do her powers any justice. They would have looked cheesy AF, and she wouldn't have looked cool at all. But now, technology has gone a long way. Like, we've gotten some really cool effects. Days of Future Past had Blink and, like, so many awesome characters. A really awesome display of mutant powers. And I feel like now, with the way that special effects have gone, even, like, Sunspot, with all that he had going on, like, he was awesome, too. I felt like we could have had an awesome Jubilee showing off her powers as a part of this team. But for whatever reason, she was hardly there. She did hang out with Scott, Jean, and Kurt at the mall. That scene got cut. And then when they go back after the explosion happens, for whatever reason, she decides not to go with Scott and Jean to like hide or whatever. She just goes with the rest of the students, gets knocked out, and gets left behind when Scott, Jean, and Kurt are stowing away on the helicopter to like go rescue the rest of the X-Men. I'm like, why is she not there? Why does she not go there? I'm like, when did she get away from them? Like, why did she get away from them? How does it even make sense? Let's see. Apparently, rumor has it that in the mall scene that got cut, that she uses her powers there. I will definitely look forward to buying the Blu-ray and seeing if this is true. I'm going to buy it anyway because I enjoyed the movie for the most part, but like you could tell by watching these reviews that I had some criticisms, including Jubilee. But yeah, hopefully I can see that, and yeah. We have the technology, we have the effects to make her awesome and to show off her powers, to finally get Jubilee. Like, how many of us love Jubilee because of the 90s X-Men, the animated series? She was the kid of the group. She was us when we watched that movie, us 90s babies and whoever. Like, she was the audience. Like, she was us. And so a lot of us have had a very intimate, close relationship with the character. And we just got shortchanged, and I just feel like it's a shame. Let's see. Yes, she was absent in the Weapon X facility thing, and because of that, they go straight from there to the final battle I think they're in Egypt, wherever that is, where they fight Apocalypse. I think it's Egypt, but she's absent there. She wasn't a part of that team, even though she would have been very useful. But But I feel like, despite all of that, despite all of her absences and all the fuckery that happened with her not being there, with just the things going on, like her just mysteriously not being there, I feel like what would have made up for that, at least just a little bit, would have been in the very end when we see the X-Men unite and they're wearing their 90s style costumes and they're all looking awesome. Some of them are showing off their powers like Storm and everything like that. It would have been awesome if they had Jubilee among them in her own costume, or if she just decided to wear her same outfit, because it kind of doubles as her costume to a degree. Or maybe they put her in a Generation X style costume because she was a member of that team in the comics in the 90s. But if they put her in a costume or whatever, I wouldn't care what she was wearing. But as long as she had been a part of the team, and then she was shown like doing her like fireworks and everything like that, and like we were promised to see her as a part of the team in the future, even though she wasn't actually here, even though they shortchanged us here, I thought that would have made up for it. That would have gave us some hope for the future. But then no, just nothing. They just, no. I'm like, this is a huge loss for Asian characters, for Asian American characters. And Jubilee's like awesome character. She's fun, she's engaging, she's funny. She has an interesting relationship with Wolverine, although here in the movies they had it with Rogue mostly, and then in some of the anime series it's Jubilee, some of it's Shadowcat, in the comics it was Shadowcat and Jubilee, and then also Rogue to a degree. Not so much Rogue, but yeah. Because she's a little bit older. Yeah. Let me see. Now we have Jean Grey, who some of you should know by now that Jean Grey is actually my favorite X-Man. And so a lot was riding on me as a Jean Grey fan watching this movie. I'm like, Sophie Turner, I love you as Sansa. You're so cute. You're so adorable. You can actually act. And I want you, please, to succeed. And I think she did. I think she did a great job. I just feel like she didn't really get the chance to shine the way a lot of other mutants did, like Magneto, unfortunately. Although I wouldn't take anything away from Magneto because he was awesome. He gave me life, and he's so fine. But I really would have loved more character development for Jean as well. Let's see. I liked her look. She had a very good look as Jean. She was convincing in the role. I thought her American accent was on point. And let me see. Another thing too, one small criticism about like how she was represented. I felt like while I did appreciate how she used her telepathy with like disguising their like camouflaging herself from people and stuff like that and everything like that. That was cool because we hadn't seen that before for the most part. Mostly Charles would like freeze people and stuff like that, but never was he like invisible to people. That was cool. But I feel like I would have loved to see her in action in the Weapon X facility. We could have had them fighting some of the soldiers before she released Wolverine. Mostly it was just them kind of like hiding from them and running away until like Kurt teleporting them away and everything like that. And then hiding while she released Logan. But it would have been cool to see her in action, like throwing people around and like using telepathy to like mind assault people and then like make them go to sleep or whatever, or mind control. Like it would have been awesome to see her like use her powers. Same thing in the final battle. I feel like she barely did anything there. She did do the thing with when she pulled up the debris to shield them from Angel's projectiles. That was cool, but that was about it. Her primary role was fighting Charles and helping him out, especially with like his Astro battle. I would have loved to see Jean and Storm face off. That has happened before in the comics. It is always an interesting situation to have two very powerful mutants facing together and everything like that. Some people might call it a designated chick fight. I think that it's just two powerful mutants facing off together, you know? Both who usually like have the power to fly. At least Jean, they kind of like flirt with it. They kind of flip-flop between she can fly fully or she could simply levitate. But it's the same thing. She's in the air and Storm's in the air. She can fly and then they're fighting. It's cool. And then Storm has a natural resistance to telepathy. In the comics, she has a natural resistance to telepathy because of the lightning in her brain or like the electricity in her brain. So that means it's not so easy for Jean to just simply like shut down her mind or like attack her mind. She usually uses telekinesis when she has to battle Storm. Although she's not immune to telepathy, Storm isn't, but you know, telepathy isn't as effective against her. As effective, but you know, not to say that she hasn't been a victim to telepathy before. She was knocked out like the rest of the X-Men in the Dark Phoenix saga by Emma Frost. And she's been attacked by Emma Frost, I think. I think she's had her mind read by a few other people. But then usually they say that she does have a resistance because of the electricity. But that would have explained like how the fight could have worked here. They still could have had a battle. I thought that that would have been more interesting. Let's see. The Phoenix effect. And by Phoenix effect, I mean the visuals of the Phoenix, like the actual like fire, the fire bird and the flames was everything. I was so happy to see it. I was so pleased. I thought Sophie Turner really sold it with her face and with her acting. Just making sure. I thought she really sold it with her face and with her acting, and she just, that scene gave me so much life. I did feel like she was taking too long, because Charles was sitting there like, help me, like, do it, release your power, like, what are you doing? I'm dying. Like, and she's just kind of sitting there like, you sure? Like, you sure? Because you're laying the beast out. Maybe it might not go so well, but it did. And it was awesome. I loved it. I loved how she, like, walked out. It reminded me of Shadowcat because she has the ability to walk on air, but that wasn't what Jean was doing. She was mostly like levitating, I guess. But it was still cool, like how she walked out and she was like walking on air, and then the Phoenix happened. I was like, yes, yes, give me more. The only thing though about the Phoenix that I was a little iffy on is the fact that once again it seems like the Phoenix is a manifestation of Jean's powers and or her psyche. I think it's mostly a manifestation of her powers in this instance, whereas in the Last Stand, it was a split personality. It wasn't even her powers, it was like a split personality. But anyway, in here, it seems to be a manifestation of her powers, whereas I prefer the cosmic entity Phoenix that comes from like the freaking stars that can like destroy planets and everything like that, and like either possesses Jean, or it like bonds with her, or like in the original comics, they revealed that it had actually taken on Jean's likeness and basically posed as her while Jean was healing. Her body was healing in the Jamaica Bay because of the space situation. Just read about the Phoenix Saga and then the Dark Phoenix Saga to understand that. It's a really amazing storyline. Everyone should read it. If you like the X-Men, if you like comic books in general, that's something that you should definitely read. The first Phoenix Saga, when she becomes the Phoenix and when she deals with the M-Cran Crystal and saves the universe, and then when she gets manipulated and becomes evil, becomes the Dark Phoenix and destroys a populated star of over 5 billion inhabitants and ends up killing herself. And it's revealed that that wasn't actually Jean. It was the Phoenix Force taking on her likeness, and the real Jean comes back out later. Yes, so the Phoenix effect was everything. I did, you know, even though I didn't like Jean and Scott being like somewhat of a package deal, I did like their banter at first when, like, you know, when she was, like, saying things to him, like, gosh, Scott, like, your mind's really not that interesting. Like, your thoughts aren't that interesting. And he was like, how do you know my name? She's like, I'm a telepath. Like, what you think? It was really cute. She had some really cool lines. I love how she said, at least we all can agree that the third movie is always the worst. I'm like, so cheeky, so cute. I loved it. And then what else? She said when she was on the helicopter on the way to the Weapon X facility, and she was trying to comfort Scott over Alex's death, and she told him like, oh, you know, he thought you were going to be the one going places. And he was like, how'd you know? She said, I always know what people are feeling. And I was like, that's cool. I love that. I thought she had some good lines. Now, her encounter with Logan after she releases him, first of all, I felt like, I Actually, we're gonna segue that right straight into the Wolverine, Stryker, and Weapon X segment because it ties into Jean as well and like what she does because she triggers the whole thing. Now, I feel like with her releasing Wolverine, she knew that he was savage because she could sense that he was a man and everything like that. She should have had some indication that he was going to kill all these people. I don't know if she just didn't care, if like it was life or death, and she felt like, oh, well, these people had it coming. But I felt like she could have at least somewhat tried to save some of them because, you know, yeah, they're kind of bad, you know, they're like trying to kill mutants and shit. But they're still like men with probably like with families, you know, with like children and wives and like, you know, parents and stuff. Like, you know, some of them, not everyone like in like these groups, like, you know, the Purifiers or the Friends of Humanity or the Weapon X program or like, the government with like Ball for Trask and whatnot, like the little lackeys or whatever. Not all of them are evil. Some of them just don't really have a choice, or they like need the money and they're like just following orders. You know, although to be fair, Magneto did say things like, "Oh, like I've been the victim of people who were just following orders." So if you want to put that into perspective, I guess Jean, you know, had every right, I guess, to release the killing machine. But I feel like it still would have been cool to see her in action, not only, but also if she would have taken some of them out herself, because Scott, Jean, and Kurt wouldn't have killed any of them. They're not killers. They could have just knocked some of them out, and then by the time he got out, that would have minimized the bloodshed for like people who died. But then again, you know, this is an X-Men movie. Who really wants less bloodshed? The scene was pretty cool. I did like that there was blood in certain instances. That's always been one of my complaints about Wolverine's rampages in like X2 and whatnot. Whenever he cuts people, you never see any blood. I'm like, he's slicing people with metal claws. How is there no blood? All this bloodless carnage. I'm like, where are these guys devoid of blood? Bye. No. Where do they do that at? Where do these people have no blood? I don't like it. But here, no, we saw the thing where like he like slashed someone and then you see like the blood splatter the wall. That is a trope in TV tropes called the gory discretion shot. Look that up. It's really, they do that a lot in Supernatural. It's actually really funny. I'm like, you will see someone screaming, the camera pan away, and like the car window has like blood splatter on it. It's like you can only imagine what happened. Anyway, the scene was cool. The Weapon X scene was cool. But I felt like it was unnecessary to the whole plot, other than the fact that that's where they get the jet, and that's where they get the flight suits, and that's where they like rescue the rest of the X-Men. I just felt like as soon as the X-Men got kidnapped by Stryker, and that whole thing went down, it felt like the movie kind of like took a break, and it was another movie. It was like a different movie. I'm like, how is this necessary? Yeah, Jean basically committed murder because she released a killing machine. And I felt like one thing too, like while I was saying like, oh, you know, I've been a victim of people, you know, taking orders. So basically like you're guilty by association and they deserve to die. But at the same time, it's like the X-Men's morals, at least with Jean, like Scott's new, maybe he doesn't know yet, but like, and Kurt, they both just got there, but Jean's been there for at least for a little bit longer, and she was the one who released Wolverine. Like, it's the X-Men's whole thing that they don't kill. Like, that's their whole thing, and that's like Xavier's whole thing, is that the X-Men don't kill, and that, you know, she was culpable for mass murder. Like, she released this guy who she should have known was gonna like kill all those people. And she basically stood idly by. She didn't really try to stop him. She probably knew she couldn't, but like yeah, I don't know. But yeah, like I said, she could have helped out by like knocking out some of them. She could have made some of them go to sleep to like spare them, but they didn't really care. Let's see. Oh yeah, huge plot hole. Mystique was the one who was posing as Stryker at the end of Days of Future Past because Wolverine was pulled out of the water and like they're like, what do you want to do with him, Stryker? And then we saw the eyes turn yellow, so we knew it was Mystique. Yet in this movie, Stryker, the real Stryker, has Wolverine because Mystique is captured and she's in the thing. We know it's not her. But it's like, when did Wolverine somehow get captured by the real Stryker? Like, what happened there? Just a huge plot hole. I'm like, you're not even following the continuity of your own movie? What? What's going on at Fox? Like, what are you doing? And also, he had the metal claws now, the adamantium claws. So they did the bonding procedure to this Wolverine. Let's see. Yeah, this plot hole never got cleared up in the movie, like why the real Stryker had Wolverine and why it wasn't Mystique, and what happened with Mystique and that whole situation. Like, it never got explained. It was just a huge plot hole. Now, Hugh Jackman, understandably, at this point in time, definitely looks older than he did in the previous movies. However, we've seen that they can use CGI to make make the actors look younger. They should have done that here to make him look younger, especially since he looks older in this point in time, which is supposed to be in the past, than he did in the very first movie, which is supposed to take place years later when Gina's a grown woman. And it just made it really creepy because he looked way older than Gina in this movie, who's obviously a teenager. And it's just like, why did they use effects to make him look younger? It just doesn't add up. The whole like, oh, she's like reaching him with her mind and everything like that. That's also a minor thing too. It's like when Wolverine is in berserker mode, when he's in his blind rage, usually he can't be reached in any way, including telepathy. Like, that's one thing that bothered me a little bit too. I'm like, how is she able to reach him for whatever reason? She shouldn't have been able to reach him at all. Not to say that he should have killed them, but maybe like Jean could have like thrown him somewhere else, maybe locked the door on him or some shit, and while he tried to claw away and while they like rescued the X-Men, she was able to like pull out some of his memories, which was cool, but like, yeah. He was in berserker mode. He shouldn't have been able to be reached telepathically. But maybe it was only because it was her and she's the most powerful telepath, not actually Charles, because of the Phoenix. Maybe it's because she's Phoenix enhanced that her telepathy is the only one able to reach him. I'll choose to believe that that's the case, because otherwise, usually telepathy is not enough to reach him in his berserker rage. Nothing can. He just has to like kind of have to come out of it on his own. Yeah, and so back to the age thing, they should have definitely used effects to make him look younger, not just for the fact that, like, oh, this takes place in the past, and, like, in the future he looks younger than now, because in real life, that the movie obviously took place many years before this one, but still, they could have, like, used the effects. And also, Wolverine is supposed to be ageless. That's, like, the whole thing about, like, why he was sent into the past in the first place, and used to future past, because he's ageless. But that's clearly not the case here, because he definitely looks older. I'm like, all right then. That's cute. Yeah, and the age gap between him and Jean, it just made the fact that we know he's going to be, like, lusting for her when she gets a little bit older all the more creepy, because it's like, yeah, I just don't know. It's like, oh, I knew you when you were a child. I'm like, ew, oh. Cover that up. Button. Yeah. So that wraps up that portion. And then finally, the last video, we'll talk about the overall ending and some of my final thoughts of the film as a whole and some of what I hope for in the future.